The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican. This is the show highlighting the Bronx food scene and today's hottest influencers. So if you like to eat, stay tuned. From BronxNet to the world, this is Foodie Down Bronx. Welcome once again to the show, guys. Make sure you stay connected to us on Instagram at BronxNetTV, at Foodie Down Bronx, and follow me at The Hungry Dominican. February is Heart Awareness Month. On today's show, our health and wellness correspondent, Mary Vin visits Freshway Juice Bar to learn more about healthy fruit smoothies. Later on, I chat with nutritionist and chef Emily Schlag to discuss what makes a heart-healthy and romantic Valentine's dinner. But before we get to today's guest, let's dig into some Chew News. To kick off Healthy Heart Month, Montefiore Medical Center held their annual Montefiore Mile event, and BronxNet was there to capture it. Let's take a look.
Montefiore Medical Center kicked off Heart Healthy Month with their annual Montefiore Mile event and some good news on the fight against heart disease.
The prevalence of death due to heart disease is decreasing. In fact, last year, for the first time, heart disease was not anymore the number one cause.
It's the first time in 100 years, shared Dr. Mario Garcia, who is chief of cardiology at the Heart Center, adding that cancer is now number one. This is a huge victory that speaks to the work health experts are doing to continually inform the public on preventative measures and what to look out for to stay clear of this preventable disease.
Factors that lead to heart disease are diabetes, smoking, obesity, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol.
Along with reducing your calorie intake, the answer for many can be right here at Montefiore Medical Center, now opening their lobby to the public for what can be seen as an indoor track. 4 laps here make a mile.
It was lovely. It was lovely. It's an easy walk.
Caroline Wedderburn, who serves patients food each day, says she's already on her feet, and she says the focused attention, though, to exercise is something that's a plus, and she's not alone. Here's Beverly Brown.
I love this because it's good for my heart, and I feel energetic, and it's also good with all my green juices that I drink every morning.
So are you ready for your Montefiore Mile Challenge? That's the question. You are welcome to come here to the Moses campus. They also have 2 additional locations, one at Weiler and at Wakefield. For more information, you can go to montefiore.org/heartmonth. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
A new study by Penn State revealed that U.S. households waste about 31.9% of their food annually. The total cost of wasted food was estimated to be $240 billion and showed that higher-income households with healthier diets wasted more food versus lower-income households with larger families or those that received SNAP benefits. Researchers pointed out that households with healthier diets included more vegetables, fruits, and perishable items and could partially explain why food waste is higher in those cases. They also found that healthy eating programs may inadvertently be encouraging more food waste. Although the study focused on consumers' large homes, a portion of the food produced in the U.S. never reaches a dinner plate. From harvest to shipment to supermarket distribution, spoilage and waste can occur at any point during the process, which has led companies like Misfits Market and Imperfect Foods to start selling produce that might not appear fresh, but actually is. In order to help with reducing food waste, households are encouraged to use shopping lists or to only buy what they deem the most necessary. All right, folks, that is this week's Chew News, giving you a little food for thought. Foodie Down Bronx will be right back.
all know consuming more fresh fruits and vegetables is good for our overall health. But getting the recommended 5 servings or more can sometimes be a bit difficult. But here at Fresh Way Juice Bar, they made it super easy for customers to come in and get the right amount of vegetables and fruit. You can go from these fresh fruits right here to this amazing drink right here. Want to find out more and learn how? Let's go talk to Hector. Hey everyone, I'm here at Freshway Juice Bar with Hector. Hector, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to be here.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I know we're gonna make an amazing smoothie today, one of your signatures, which is a super green.
Right.
But before we get there, I want to know a little bit more about the establishment and how you got involved.
Started off as a customer, juicing for health. Was going to a juice bar where one of the partners, Wade, was working, and that's where I also met Fresh. And we just conversed and we talked, and Wade came at us with the idea of he wanted to branch off and do his own thing, and he'd like for us to accompany him. And to me, it was great. Like, it came at the perfect time for me. I think there should be a juice bar everywhere, so I'm like, cool, let's try it. It's close to home. I'm from the neighborhood. We're all actually from the neighborhood. And yeah, like I said, we were talking about it, and then once we saw the location, we like sped up the process because it was like, you know, prime location, White Plains Road, you know, Park Justice right here. There's not a day that goes by that I don't see somebody that like, oh, didn't you go to 125 or didn't you go to Stevenson High School? And I'll be like, yeah, like they remember the faces.
And
So
I
it's
see
cool.
you have that connection with every guest. Like you knew, like one of the guests came in earlier and you knew exactly, it was like the supreme.
Oh, nah, I like doing that. Like that's one of my things. Like even with these guys, the person will come in and I'll be like, I bet you they're gonna get Just Berries. You know what I'm saying? Like
Like you know the
that's just my
customer
thing.
smoothie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So also wanted to know a little bit more about like your menu. Like I noticed something about the menu in particular, like all of the ingredients are pretty much listed. Why is that?
Because we're not trying to cheat anybody. We're not trying to be rich. Like if you want to go home and make it yourself, it's right there in front of you. We just want to try to be a better option for people. There's a McDonald's over there. There's all this fast food going around, and there's not enough, you know, healthy options. Along with the Next Stop Vegan, you know, down the block on Archer, it's just us and them really. Everything else is fast food, things that you know we really shouldn't be eating. So we're just here trying to do our part for the community.
And I see that you're really involved with the community to a point where you actually have kids come here, right? Like there's
Yeah.
some special programs. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we have a partnership with the Board of Ed. One of the partners, Fresh, used to be a teacher. So through his contacts, we have a workshop that comes by on Mondays and Thursdays with the special needs students. And what we do is we just give them tasks to do, to let them learn like basic skills of working, proper food handling, and then they learn how to be healthier too at the same time. So it's a win-win.
So how does that make you feel when you see them actually doing this? Because
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
They come in, you see the energy when they got here. They're like, oh, good morning, Hector. You know, like it's different. You know how they say about like kids are innocent and all that. Like, so they come in, they liven up the place. Like I love it. I love them here.
I just remember growing up, I wish someone would have taught me more about entrepreneurship, and on top of that, eating healthy. So I'm just really thankful that you're doing that, especially in the Bronx. I know that means a lot to me, and probably a lot to the community as well. So now we're gonna go right into our signature smoothie here, which is the super green. I know you made some alterations just for me.
Right.
Some of our viewers know that I'm actually unfortunately allergic to bananas. So instead of bananas, we're gonna have peaches.
Right.
So let's just go through the ingredients quickly. If someone did want to do this at home, minus our secret ingredient, what would they need to do? What would they need to put in the blender?
Some pineapple and green apple for the juice. You know, that's what you're gonna use.
Is there a reason we're using green and not red?
Low glycemic, more sugar in the red apple.
Oh,
so,
wow,
you know,
didn't know that.
Since you're already getting, you know, a nice amount of sweet and sugar from the pineapple, we just want to add the green apple to get a little more juice, but not sugar. You know what I mean? Spinach, some kale,
So
usually a banana, but not today.
All right. But what's so good about the greens? I know for me, I like eating raw greens. It's not a big deal. But is this a really a good way for someone to get greens into their diet? Or why should someone increase greens in their diet?
Personally, I like to eat spinach, but there's like my son, he's not going to eat none of this. You put this on his plate and it'll just grow mold and be there for 2, 3, 4 days. But if you put it in a cup, he sips it, little by little he drinks it. So this is a great way to get the kids and get yourself, and to trick yourself into just, getting the stuff that you really need for your body. You'd be surprised. You'd be like, oh, super green, kale, spinach in a smoothie. does it taste? Nothing like how it sounds.
Well, we're gonna find out today.
Absolutely.
And then we also have this last secret ingredient, which I'm super fascinated about. I saw it on your menu under your fruity moss drink, and I was like, sea moss?
Right.
What is that?
Sea moss, also called Irish sea moss. It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Sebi, but it's like a superfood. It has 92 vitamins and minerals of the 102 that the human body needs. It, vitamin K, if you have low blood count, you're anemic, helps with that. It helps to rid the body of all the mucus in it. And you know that's what makes it sick, is mucus. You know, we get a lot of mucus from red meat. We get mucus from a lot of foods that we eat that we don't even know. So this right here, this just works wonders.
And this is why someone should actually come into the shop, because you can't just find sea moss anywhere. I know I can't.
Not everybody knows how to make it. You have to be real careful when you're preparing the sea moss, because you have to be very diligent in cleaning it to make sure you get all the salt, because it's from the sea. You know, it's a natural seaweed, so it's just like if you grab something from the sea and you put it in your mouth, it's super salty. You can't ingest all that salt, it's really bad for you. So that has to be prepared properly.
And
not everybody can do it.
And how often do people order this? Because like I said, this is my first time going to be consuming.
Well, you can have it every day. You should have at least like 8 to 10 grams of it every single day, and you'll notice a difference. Like let's say if you come 5 days in a row, you get something with sea moss 5 days, and then you don't have it for a couple days, you're gonna notice a difference in your energy. You're gonna feel like, you're like, damn, I miss my sea moss.
So without further ado, we can go ahead and get started and going right into the blending.
Okay, sure. So we're gonna take some spinach, peaches, we're gonna throw in there instead of banana.
Peaches are amazing.
Take some slices of pineapple and some green apple and walk over to the juicer.
Cheers. What I love is that I saw earlier that anytime you make a smoothie for anybody, you always have extra and you just give it out freely.
It could be a person's first time having that particular drink. So it's like you can sample it. If you don't like it, we'll remix it. Then if you like it, you might love it. You might want a little extra. You know?
This is true. So I'm really excited about this because the consistency is a lot thicker than I thought it would be, considering you didn't add any almond milk. All the sea moss is what gave it the thickness. Wow, that doesn't.
Thank you.
Like a lot of time when I drink green juices, I drink it because I know it's good for me, but it tastes like grass.
Right, exactly.
Like heavy grass,
Exactly.
like a lot of grass.
That's how everybody when they hear me say, "Oh, well, what do you recommend?" I'll be like a super green, and they be like, and you look at the ingredients, and be like, But if you take my chance, you take the chance, and you try it, you'll be like, wow, it's really good.
So I just want to say thank you for making me this drink. I know my team is going to be really excited to have some as well.
Okay.
And someone wanted more information about like how to get here, or is there a website? What should they do to find you guys?
We're everywhere. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We have a website. All over.
What's the Instagram handle?
Freshway Juice Bar.
Freshway Juice Bar.
Freshway Juice.
How do you spell
Freshway
it?
Juice Bar. FRESHWEY, not AY.
That's the reason I asked. I want to know, why is there an E?
Well, Wade, one of the partners.
Okay.
His nickname is Wade. The other nickname, the other partner's nickname is Fresh, so that's how they put that together with the Fresh Wade.
So this was really good, guys. I don't know about you, but I know I'm going to be juicing a lot in 2020. If you guys want to juice in 2020, I think you should definitely come here and give Fresh Wade a try. And thank you for watching this episode of Healthy Bronx Bites with your girl, Mary. Hope to see you in the next episode of Foodie Down Bronx.
Welcome back to Foodie Bronx. I'm your host, Em, the Hungry Dominican. Now, we all know I love to stuff my face to my heart's content, but it's also very important to keep your heart healthy, especially right now in time for Love Day. So here now to discuss an upcoming new teaching kitchen facility in our own very borough, along with heart, healthy, and romantic meal tips for Valentine's Day, is registered dietitian and chef Emily Schlag of St. Barnabas Hospital. Chef,
thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
This is so awesome. Okay, so I had just mentioned to you before that in these demos, I haven't had someone come up here and sort of display so much healthy food in front of me. I'm usually out there kind of stuffing my face with anything. But before we move on to this beautiful salmon, and we have a pork tenderloin, and we have some avocado with some raspberries, I do want to mention the fact that you're from New Orleans, and this is technically your first time in the Bronx.
Yes, it is.
So what are you feeling? Like, Honestly, how has it been so far?
It's been great. I'm really excited to be here. Like you said, I just came from New Orleans. I'm originally from Chicago. I've lived in a lot of different places. And one of my favorite things about moving is experiencing the culture of wherever I move to. So New Orleans had a lot of culture. It had a lot of amazing food. Now I'm here in the Bronx. There's a lot of culture, a lot of amazing food.
Yes.
I'm excited to learn
culture.
about it.
That's one thing I'll tell you about the Bronx. We have a lot of culture here, a lot of different facets. I'm sure you'll love it. So I do want to get into the food a little bit because salmon is one of my weak points. I love salmon. I also love pork. And so I see right now that this is very much a flexitarian's type of display here of the types of food that we have, right? Because we're not limiting ourselves to one thing particularly. So can you break down exactly what we have? Because we have things bunched up together. So we have our salmon next to our greens and our...
So what I wanted to focus on today was a couple different options for maybe a heart-healthy meal that we could make for Valentine's Day or any other day if we really want to. And so when I think heart-healthy, I think healthy fats, lots of fiber, and watching how much salt we're using. We don't have to cut salt out completely, but we want to build flavor in other ways. So one way that we can get those healthy fats is going to be salmon. Salmon's going to be a really great source of omega-3 fatty acids. Those are really good for our heart health. They can help with blood pressure, preventing heart disease. So we want to make sure we get salmon or any kind of oily fish. So if we don't like salmon, we could do trout or tuna, mackerel, halibut, whatever we like. If we don't like salmon, there's other choices for us.
Right.
So we want these good healthy fats. So we have that covered. So now we need fiber. Where do we get fiber from? We can get it from a lot of vegetables. So anytime I'm doing a protein, I want to try to pair it with as many vegetables as possible.
Right.
What we have here, we have some kale, we have some fennel, which might be a little bit different, but has a lot of great flavor to it. And then we have a lot of flavoring options as well. So the great thing about salmon is it's really easy to cook, it's easy to overcook, but if we slow roast it, 300 degrees for about 30 minutes, it's going to come out perfectly.
Right.
It's not going to stink up our kitchen. It's not going to smell like fish. And we can roast it on top of the kale, on top of the fennel. And so what we have to go along with it are all of our flavoring agents. So I said we don't want too much salt. We can add a little salt. That's okay.
But it's always important not to overdo it with the sodium, essentially.
And so we can utilize things like citrus. Those add a bright flavor to our food. They give us the same effect that salt does. So if we are someone that likes to finish with some salt on top of our food, maybe we do a squeeze of citrus instead. It gives us that nice pop of flavor that we like.
Okay.
Then we can use aromatics as well. So we have some ginger, we have some shallots, we have a hot pepper. Those are all going to add a lot of interesting flavors to our food as well. And we don't have to do all three. We can mix and match depending on what flavor profile we like. And I love some fresh herbs to finish off a dish with. Again, it just gives it that nice fresh pop. So we have our healthy fats, we have our fiber, we have our flavoring agents. This is going to be a beautiful dinner that we can serve for Valentine's Day, and it's going to be heart healthy as well.
Now, I just want to get back to the salmon real quick because you had mentioned that it's easy to overcook this. So what's the average time of preparing salmon if you're doing it, let's say, in an oven?
So for salmon, I actually just learned this and it worked out so well. If we slow roast it, 300 degrees, takes about 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
So we can remember 300, 30.
Perfect.
Easy for us to remember, especially because it's so thick like this.
Right.
By slow roasting it, you're giving yourself a little more leeway too. If we roast that salmon at 400 degrees, it's going to go from perfect to overdone, maybe in a matter of seconds. With this, if the timer goes off and we forget about it, maybe we have a couple minutes before it's going to be overcooked.
Right.
And to know if it's cooked perfectly is once that fish starts flaking apart if you can just press on it and it falls apart,
Right,
it's
I
done.
usually just take a fork to it, and if I start seeing that little crispy top, then I know it's
Yep.
done,
Yep.
right? Awesome. Okay, fantastic. So let's move on to the center of my eye right here, the pork tenderloin.
Yes, I know you're very excited for this pork tenderloin. So the American Heart Association actually classifies pork tenderloin as a heart-healthy protein option, and that's because the pork tenderloin is really lean, which means it doesn't have a lot of fat to it. So if we look at the outside of the pork, we might see some fat in there, but the inside of the muscle doesn't really have a lot of fat to it.
Right.
But it's going to be very, very tender. And because it doesn't have a lot of fat to it, that gives us a lot of wiggle room for adding flavor to our pork.
Right.
So like I said, we want to make sure we're having healthy fats, so we can cook this in a heart-healthy oil like olive oil or canola oil. We have a little fat on the outside, but not too much.
That beautiful marbling right here, sure.
So that's going to crisp up really well in the oven. So we're going to roast this as well.
As well, okay.
For me, Valentine's Day is a day to indulge. You want to have a beautiful dish. I don't think there's anything more impressive than a nice roast.
I agree.
So we're going to roast this off. You can buy this pre-sliced at the store, but if you can find it whole, the whole loin like this, I prefer that. It's a little bit cheaper too.
Yeah, it's also more bang for your buck for sure.
And we're going to get so many servings out of this. And so because this is lean, we want to pack it full of flavor, and that's what this plate right here is for.
Right.
So we have some mushrooms on there. Mushrooms have something called umami, that fifth taste. And umami roughly translates to deliciousness from Japanese. So it's that savory, meaty, delicious flavor. It makes us want to go back for another bite of food. So we're going to roast those mushrooms alongside that pork. We're going to get some great umami along with that pork, and we're going to season it with some fresh rosemary, some thyme, some shallots again, so we can use shallots in a couple different ways.
Right.
And maybe we chop up those herbs, that shallot, make a marinade, maybe with some orange or some lemon, rub that on the pork and roast it. It's going to be so good.
And it's important for people to know that mushrooms usually will soak up whatever you're sort of cooking it next to, so you can actually have that its own umami flavor, and then if you cook it next to your pork, it sort of absorbs that flavor.
So one thing I love to do is to roast my meats on a bed of vegetables, because they absorb all of those flavors.
Right.
So maybe we roughly chop those mushrooms or slice them up kind of thick so they're still meaty, put those in a pan, put that pork on top. They're all going to roast together.
Beautiful.
Those mushrooms are going to take on that pork flavor. That pork's going to take on those mushrooms, that mushroom flavor, and it's just going to be so delicious.
It's like a marriage for Valentine's Day. Beautiful.
We're all coming together.
Beautiful.
We're with the ones we love, the porks with the mushrooms.
Exactly.
They love each
I love
other.
That. That's
it's going to be great.
That's great.
And so, again, vegetables. So we're always trying to pair things with as many vegetables as we can. I don't like doing one vegetable. I think that's boring. So just like with the salmon, how we had kale and fennel, we have a lot of choices here as well. I really love these carrots that come with the tops because we can actually use these tops. We can turn these into a salad. We can puree them into a pesto.
I would have never even assumed I could.
They're totally edible. They have a pretty mild flavor too. So we can puree those up, make a really delicious sauce with them.
Right.
So we can roast those carrots, use the top somewhere else. We can roast the asparagus alongside the carrots, or maybe we go to the grocery store, we had our heart set on asparagus and they're out, or it doesn't look good.
Right.
We can use other vegetables as well. We could do some nice squash. We could even do the kale or the fennel with the pork if we want to. We can be really flexible with what we're doing.
I love this tip. Again, going back to this, I would have never assumed I could do anything with this at all. So before we move on to the dessert here, because I'm so curious about the avocado and the raspberries, tell me a little bit about your work with St. Barnabas Hospital. And again, this connects to your trip from New Orleans to the Bronx. So what exactly are you planning for the Bronx going forward?
So what we're doing is we are going to be opening a health and wellness center. So there's going to be some clinics on the first floor of our building. On the second floor, there's going to be a teaching kitchen. That's where I'm going to be, a fitness center. And then on the roof of our building, we're actually going to have a rooftop farm. So amazing. It's all going to be connected. My hope for the kitchen is that people will come in. We're going to do cooking classes with the community, with medical students, with medical residents, with anyone that wants to come. And we're going to teach them how to cook healthy, how to be healthy. We're going to give people tips and tricks on what to look for at the grocery store.
Right.
We really want to give people the tools that they need so they can go home take what they learn at the kitchen and apply that to what they're already doing at home.
That's awesome. So a reminder, that's the Teaching Kitchen and Center for Culinary Medicine.
Yes.
Right? It will be happening at the SBH, St. Barnabas Hospital, Health and Wellness Center. And this is happening coming this spring.
Yes.
Right? So we're close to the opening day.
Yep, so we're under construction right now. That's going to be wrapping up soon. We're hoping to be open sometime in June.
Fantastic.
So closer to summer, but pretty soon still.
Late spring, early summer.
It's coming up fast.
So now that we've had our salmon and our pork tenderloin with the awesome tip about the carrots here, avocado, raspberry, what's going on here?
I know, it looks like a strange thing to have together on the plate. So again, heart healthy, we want healthy fats, but we still want to have dessert. We want to indulge a little bit. So we have some chocolate chips over here too. So avocados have a lot of healthy fats in them. They're called monounsaturated fats. Anytime I hear unsaturated, I know that's going to be a heart healthy fat.
Right.
So we're going to pair the avocado with the chocolate. We're going to melt down some chocolate chips. We're actually going to puree that with the avocado and make a chocolate mousse out of it. So we're going to add a little cocoa powder, a little milk to that, just a little bit of maple syrup for a touch of sweetness. And when we whiz that in the blender, it incorporates air, and we can make a mousse out of that. And the avocado is going to replace any heavy cream that we might normally add to a mousse.
Right.
Because the chocolate has such a strong flavor, we're not even going to taste that avocado, but it's going to be creamy. It's going to have a great mouthfeel to it.
So it's sort of like a base for it? It's just sort of like, it lends to the texture of it, but it doesn't really overwhelm the chocolate, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's replacing that butter, that cream that we might normally put in something like a mousse.
Right.
It's giving it that fatty base that we come to expect when we have a chocolatey rich dessert like that.
So you don't even have to use butter in that sense. You could just, you could
Mm-hmm.
put in avocado for that.
And so we have some berries here. Again, I'm always trying to get a little more fiber when I can.
Sure.
So we have some raspberries that we can put on top of that mousse. The great thing about the mousse, it could be made up to 3 days ahead of time. So we make that ahead of time. Maybe we go to the store and we see some lovely raspberries on sale. We can put that on top of our mousse and have a really great dessert. The raspberries are going to be nice and tart and sweet. That's going to complement really well to the fatty, rich creaminess with the mousse that we're making. So they're going to complement each other really well. And you don't have to use raspberries. I know it's wintertime. Sometimes they're harder to find. We could do blueberries, strawberries, cherries. We could even use frozen fruit and make a little compote in it, maybe microwave that frozen fruit so it gets syrupy, put that on top. We can be really flexible with what we're using here.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great dessert. Thank you, Emily. This is really awesome. Guys, you'll be able to learn more cooking tips like today and visit Chef Emily at the St. Barnabas Teaching Kitchen soon. Visit sbhny.org for more information. All right, guys, that's all for the show. Thank you again for tuning in, and thank you to our guests today for joining me. Tune in every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. here on BronxNet Optimum 67 and Fios 33. Also, make sure to tune in on the go at bronxnet.org and find us on YouTube. From BronxNet to the world, this is Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, Em, the Hungry Dominican, always reminding you to feed your mind, feed your body, and if you see me coming along, feed me. Adios.